Welcome to the Mousecast podcast. It's yet another Tuesday night, but tonight you determine our topics as you join us for open mic. This is where the mind meets the magic. We dive a little deeper every time. Theme parks, cruise ships, and travel. If you don't listen, maybe now it's time. Tonight on the show, we open up the door. Start with some news and chat, and viewers get the floor. So join us now for an amazing show as we begin to see what you can do for an open mic night of fun. As we see what topics come from you, Mousecast podcast is diving in. Join us Tuesday nights for our live show. When we let the mind meet the magic, we can find out what you need to know. We know tonight will be out of sight, so let's kick off this open mic night.
Hello and welcome to Mousecast. It's episode 94. It's the second Tuesday of the month. Guys, you know what that means. It's open mic night. Okay, so open mic night. Hey, if you're new to Mousecast and you are just joining us, first of all, thank you. Welcome. Welcome to Mousecast. We are a podcast talking all about things Disney, Universal, Disney Cruise Line, all kinds of fun stuff. And we have a great time here. But this is open mic night. This is the time where you, that's right, you, right over there, you get to choose our topic for tonight. So if you are live right now in the chat, either on Facebook or over on YouTube, pop into the chat what you want to talk about. If you're listening to us on the podcast edition, hey, why aren't you live with us? We do this live every Tuesday night at 8:30. So come and join us and be part of the live fun and be part of the discussion. So it is open mic night. So when you guys have a question, a comment, whatever you want to talk about, pop it into the chat and we will take off. Hey, Hawk. Hey, Megan. Hey, Matt. How's it going?
Can't complain. Better than last week. I hear things went pretty okay without me, but it was, just missing a little bit of, the norm.
The boys behaved themselves.
I'm proud of all of you.
For the most part. For the most part. Now the lawyers they stayed in the corner. Okay, Hawk. You doing okay, buddy? You only got like 2-3 more weeks of Halloween Horror Nights. Are you handling this all right?
I'm kind of bummed out, actually. We were hoping to get well over 20 visits, and we're at 14 right now.
You better pick up the pace.
We got to work some stuff out, but my daughter's had a lot of events we've had to go to, so we haven't been able to get over multiple.
Hawk, how dare you let family get in the way of Halloween Horror Nights?
I know, it's crazy. It's the things you do after you're married.
That's right. So it is open mic night. So again, be sure to pop into that chat. Your questions, your comments, whatever you want to talk about. Guys, there was some news that was announced last week after
you going to say hi to Matt?
I did say, hey, Matt. Matt, how you doing, buddy? Thought you were going to say something.
Somebody's got to turn the heat on up here. That's all I got to say.
Bring it on. I'm ready for it. It got slightly cool. And then, like, today it was back to 81. I'm like, dude, no, come on. It's mid-October. I'm ready for my fall weather.
It was very chilly this morning. It was in the 60s here today.
I was about to say chilly by Florida standards. Yeah.
I'm not even pretending to be chilly down here. It's 80 in the morning when I go outside at 7 a.m. It's 95 by the time I'm in the middle of the day. Somebody get me out of Texas.
Yeah. Texas is a little warm. But so some of the news that was shared out by Disney last week, a couple of small announcements that came out. First of all, over in Animal Kingdom, Zootopia's Better Zoogether will be opening next month, November 7th at Disney's Animal Kingdom. Apparently it's going to be featuring an animatronic of Benjamin Clawhauser. If you're familiar with the movie, Benjamin is the officer who kind of works at the reception desk, for lack of a better term. And of course, this goes into where the old Stuff to Be a Bug theater underneath the Tree of Life is. And Hawk, I believe you said you've seen some information that there's some previews already starting to pop up on this.
They're getting ready to do registration for previews. You can sign up for dates and that stuff. get stuff rolling.
Yep. So this is nice to see again.
What we doing, to be honest.
Yeah.
There's certain things you want to make sure you're the first people to see and go enjoy. And
So Zootopia Better Zoogether is not one of them for you?
No,
No.
I
Okay.
got to be honest there. Where would you guys rank on that? Like, is it one you're like, woohoo? Or are you kind of like, eh?
I love Zootopia, so I'm really excited for it. I mean,
Okay.
it was time for a change from its stuff to be a bug, and to me, like,
I agree. That's
what a better
where I'm
movie to
at.
put in
You know.
there than Zootopia.
I hadn't gone to It's Tough to Be a Bug in so many years that it just, you know what I mean? Like, some of the things just don't have relevance because, like, Carousel of Progress.
Uh-oh. All right, Tom, if you're watching right now, come on, get on Hawk. He's dissing it. That's right. So, Megan, what do you think about I think you're a Zootopia fan too, aren't you?
My kids are.
Okay.
I'm not excited about the second movie. I'm not excited about this. I think I think it is time for a change with It's Tough to Be a Bug, and I appreciate the fact that they're bringing this into relevance because there is a good fan following for Zootopia that I'm not sure there ever was for It's Tough to Be a Bug. It's Tough to Be a Bug was always confusing. I understood the theming of it going into Animal Kingdom, but I felt like it was a little bit of a push to say, oh, people just loved this movie that we need an attraction for.
Right.
That part.
Well, and so Tom has joined us. He says, shame. You know you love Carousel of Progress, Hawk. See, Tom is with us tonight. Tom, thanks for being with us. And again, it is open mic night, so if you have comments, if you have questions, anything you want to share it out in the chat, either on our Facebook or our YouTube channel, and we'll be sure to include those in the discussion. The next announcement was Rock and Roller Coaster featuring the Electric Mayhem. I know everybody just can't wait for this to come, is planning to be opened next summer. Now, that's as much detail as we have, other than that Kermit and Miss Piggy are special guests. So we all know, and we've talked at length about the demise of Rock and Roller Coaster and Aerosmith and the moving of Muppets from where it was to make room for Monstropolis and coming over here. So, I mean, they're moving forward at least. This doesn't look like it's taking forever. Although it's, as Hawk, we were talking, it's still taking a year though, isn't it?
So here's kind of my take. You know, again, Universal built Velocicoaster from scratch in like 17 months. You're going to refurb a ride and retheme it, and it takes a year. It just seems to me like all I can say is when this is where Disney, I think, has some challenges. Because if you're going to shut something down for a year, I want to be wowed when I see it again. Like, I want to be impressed. I want to be like, wow, now I understand why it was down for a year. I don't want to get on, and similar to the reaction with Tiana's for a lot of people, that, oh, it's cute. Oh, it's good. I want to be wowed. And with technology where it is, I think Disney really has to step up and level up a little bit and get to the point where they're wowing people. And I just feel like I have a lot of skepticism because these refurbed rides that have come out over the last few years or rethemed experiences are the same exact experience with like a new coat of paint. I have not been wowed by any of the rethemes. The thing that wowed me with Splash Mountain is looking at it from the exterior. What they were able to do to make it look differently, I do think is impressive. And you know, there are aspects they get right. But then it's like they prioritize one aspect and nail it out of the park. And then everything else becomes, well, we ran out of money. You know,
yeah, so Samantha says, Rock and Roller Coaster, who is the reaction you want for sure after a year of refurb? I think she's right. You know, you want to be like, okay, this is a real upgrade. And Tom has
animals sitting next to me, rocking out.
Yeah,
That's
really.
what I want.
And Tom has a good comment. He says, with so many rides shut down, I think Disney has a lot of nerve with the latest price increases. And I think, Tom, we're actually going to probably talk about that because I'm glad you mentioned that. That's the other bit of news.
It's open mic night.
It is open mic night now.
About it.
That's right. It is open mic night. So there was one other bit about technology I did want to quickly share from the news, and then we're going to get right to Tom's comment. The animatronic figures at Epcot's Frozen Ever After will be getting an upgrade. Anna, Elsa, and Kristoff. Now, there were no dates given.
Booger face.
Right, and see, this is I took this shot back in 18, and clearly Elsa was not feeling all that well, and that's an offshoot or a detriment of the internal face projection technology, and so Disney's going to be replacing that with new animatronics that are featured, I believe, in either Hong Kong or at Tokyo Disneyland, and so
It's not very nice.
it doesn't look very good, but at the same time, this opened in 2016. It's almost 10 years later before they're finally addressing this. So, again, this gets back to, maybe picking up the pace. But the other big news that was shared, I'm glad Tom brought it up, Disney in their annual State of Affairs increased the ticket prices, and we saw something, folks, that we've not seen before. We all knew it was coming one day, and that day has come. A 1-day, 1-park ticket price for the Magic Kingdom has topped $200. Now, I remember when it was not all that long ago, when it was significant news that a 1-day, 1-park ticket at the Magic Kingdom topped $100. So the fact that, within, I don't know, maybe 10 years or maybe even less, we've gone from 100 to 200. So, guys, Matt, we'll start with you. Thoughts on ticket prices? Because, Hawk has mentioned many times that, according to some of the data, that theme park attendance is waning a little bit. So, what do you think about, ticket price increases, especially, an increase to a significant number? When you cross that 200 number, that's a big line to get across.
It's an intimidating number, that's for sure. I don't know. Unfortunately, I feel like this is the state of affairs as everything just continues to increase in price. It's not just Disney tickets; it's everything. So, I know demand is
Eggs
down.
are down.
Great. I don't like eggs.
What, you know?
You can keep them.
Nice try, Hawk. You tried. I appreciate that you tried.
Hey, gas prices too.
I'll go get my Disney ticket and I'll
He
be
doesn't
all set.
drive. No. But Matt,
yeah,
you're right.
it was inevitable that it was going to happen eventually. I mean, happening this quick when, like we mentioned, attendance is down, and then for them to hike it up. I know they got to pay for these renovations and stuff like that, but I think it's a little extreme to do something this drastic. Not so much drastic, but this big of a hike.
But Matt, think about it from this perspective, right? What's been the biggest complaint over the last 5 years? What's the number one complaint?
Where do you want me to start?
No, but the number one, everybody's like, Disney's too busy. It's packed. The waits are too long.
Right.
Yada, yada, yada. So, what does a business do? This is where, in Disney's defense, they face a little bit of a double-edged sword, right? Because you've got stakeholders that want to ensure that profits are made, money's made. That's what they're there for. It's a business. And I understand also, people forget theme park revenue is it's a percentage, but it's not the percentage that people think it is for Walt Disney, as a company. It's a smaller percentage than people think, theme park revenue. Now, when you start to analyze from a business perspective, what does business want to do? It does want to keep its fan base happy, but how do you do that if people are complaining too many people are there and you start to raise prices, lowers the crowds in theory. But people just kind of over the last couple of years kept paying it and kept continuing to come. And you saw that 2-year or so resurgence after COVID lockdowns where people just flocked to take trips because they had been locked up for so long. So you got a good 2.5 year run of almost an artificial economy lifted so high because people had saved and not traveled for that time out of fear for a bit. So then you have Epic drawing people to Orlando right now, which, we wondered, would that slow Disney's traffic or would it increase it? And it seems the way Universal kind of opened Epic that it wound up increasing it a little bit because you were limited in the number of days originally that you could go to Epic. So people planned trips to be able to experience both. But that money that you're talking in revenue, they're going to up prices. They're trying to lower the number of people, but they want to keep their profit margin. So it's a dangerous balance that you got to walk. Mm-hmm. You're going to alienate people. I mean, Tegan and I started as pass holders in 2017. We paid just under $500. It was like $400 actually. It was $400.
Yeah, it ain't that now.
For a top level out of state pass, we had to buy the top tier. We got our 20% discount to renew it the following year, and we paid an extra $40 because it went up 25%. And since then, it's continued to go up and go up and go up. And you think about that.
A new AP now is $1,500 plus.
Correct. At the top tier. Now, if you want to take into consideration that less than 10 years ago it was $400 and change, you're talking about a 65% increase in cost. Like that's huge. Well, more than that actually. It's what 200 and
yeah, it's nearly triple.
Yeah, so 2/3 increase is what I meant by that. I said that backwards. This is
a 300% increase. Yeah,
this is what happens when we work all day and get no sleep.
That's right.
Math class with the high school dropout.
Yeah, but so Samantha Simmons brings up an interesting comment. She says, "But wait, how many years for renovation and how many rides are shut down at the same time? That's a little disappointing when it comes to the ticket prices." And Megan, I think I think some of this may be in the timing. What do you think?
I definitely think that the timing is hard. Disney has a lot of changes. They're getting ready to do a lot of renovations. They have started shutting things down to get ready for those. And so, and it wasn't just the ticket prices, right? I mean, I get notifications every time news comes out on Disney on my phone. My phone blew up that entire day because yes, it was ticket prices, but it was Lightning Lane prices. And it was a million other things that went up
in
price.
Everything.
Just everything went up across the board. And what I find interesting, because I think there are two things that, to Hawk's point, they're trying to balance revenue and the crowds. Disney World is built on people who vacation at the parks. They're not visiting for one day. Discourage those one day people, because when you look at the revenue brought in from a family of 4 who comes in for 5 nights and 4 days, even if they're on a budget, they're still going to spend more than those people who show up for one day. They just are, because those people who are budgeting for one day, yes, they're shelling out for the ticket price, but they may be pulling back on everything they spend inside the park as well. Whereas somebody who has to save for several years ends up saving a little bit more, might have a little bit more room to budget. And so Disney has looked at all these factors and decided, we're going to value the people who, even though maybe they have to save up and they can't come this year for one day, they're going to wait 5 years and come for 4. Disney figures we're going to win down the line. And so this is who we're valuing. Well, what I'm interested in seeing with all these ticket prices, because I had this happen this week, I've been talking to a return client of mine. She contacted me back in the spring and said, hey, we want to go to Disney in November 2026. And I said, great, let's go ahead and figure out where you guys want to be. They've gone to Disney several times. They have 4 kids. 3 of them are 11 and up. One of them is 4. So one of them is going to get free dining because she's like, we want the dining plan. Okay. Well, back when they had 3 kids who were all really little, they stayed at the Grand Floridian for a week. And then last time they went, when they had 4 kids and they were paying for 3, then they stayed at one of the moderate resorts, and they wanted to go moderate again. So Disney opens up November and December, announces all these price changes. I sent her that number and she went, okay, what's the next level down? And then they decided to take off dining. And I think that's my question. How many people are going to drop the dining plan because now they got to pay extra for tickets and resort and Lightning Lanes and all these other things?
Yeah. What's the downshift effect?
Yeah. And here, you bring up something, Megan, that I think is interesting, because people do forget. They see that $200 for one day If you go 5 days, you're averaging a lot less than that. The time drops, like when the time added drops that ticket price so drastically for a per day price. That's why people wind up vacationing at Disney World, because you also can't experience all 4 parks in a day. You can't experience all 4 parks the right way in 10 days, to be totally honest, if you've never been. So, if you know what you're doing, yeah, you can. And that's great for the people that return. But the biggest knock I've heard lately is just Lightning Lane availability. People that want to get Lightning Lane, they're paying this premium money, and there's either no spots left for the rides that are in demand, or it's, come see us at 10:30 at night, and that's the first available Lightning Lane. How the heck are you supposed to take advantage of those systems? So I really wish that Disney would they'll never do it because now they've created revenue. But I wish they would go back to the 3 paper fast passes. Like put a vending machine, put some vending locations at the front, let you pick which one you want. Don't make people run all the way to the stupid rides. That was so annoying. But put a machine out front and let first come, first serve, people get their rides and return times for the day. And even if you limit it to 1 or 2, don't even give people 3, but go back to free and give 1 or 2 experiences and let people really jump on and just be able to enjoy it. Because otherwise you are just waiting in ridiculous ratios. The standby line ratios have gone long because people are now paying. So you're prioritizing payment. So those counts at a lot of parks are for like every 25 standby, they'll let 75 to 100 Lightning Lane go through.
Yeah. Part of the problem also with Lightning Lane is I think just in general, it's oversold. That's where their issue. They're selling too many of them. They need to, here's your easy, first of all, I'm agreeing with you. I think they need to go back to the free paper pass fast. I think also this is their opportunity to prioritize deluxe guests of, off-property guest, you can get 2. A value guest, you can get
1,
2 or 3, and a deluxe guest, you can get 4 or whatever. Something so that, a deluxe guest gets a little bit more. Again, it's that added value, but we know that's probably never going to happen.
I'll be honest, if you're paying deluxe rates at Disney, because when you compare them, like deluxe rates between Universal and Disney, Universal's gone up a lot. Okay. Yeah. Universal's gone up a lot.
But what you get with it,
Helios is like $700, a night. They're
hold my beer. Grand Floridian's over $1,000 a night. I mean,
no, I know. Depending on when you go and what quality room you decide to stay in, you can get suites in any of those hotels that are well into the thousands per night, both at Disney or Universal. So, there is flexible price point. But when you pay that $700 at Universal, you're getting unlimited express with that. If Disney did something similar to that, give people, even if you don't do unlimited express, 1 Lightning Lane for each ride in the park. You can go 1 time a day as long as you're staying at that deluxe resort on property.
In fact, Samantha says exactly that. She says, or even pay for the fast pass if you stay off property and you get free for staying. That's exactly it. And it's trying to get to that added value of, staying at a premium level for the resort.
You also have to give the consumer the thought that they're getting something with spending elite money. And unfortunately, Disney has got into this rhythm of the last few years where consumers feel nickel and dimed at every level. This is where Universal does it better than Disney, I'll be honest. I know there's still some of the same perks. You don't pay for parking at the parks if you're an annual pass holder and you have the top tier pass. That's true at both. Okay, awesome. Disney gives a smaller discount and at fewer places than Universal gives its discount to pass holders. Universal, you can enjoy a discount at a quick service stand. You flash your pass, you're getting a discount. You do that at Disney, they're like, oh, quick service doesn't have a discount. You sit down for dining, oh, we're third party, we don't have a discount. Like there's too many of those factors. Like put it across the board, Disney. If you come in, you have a Disney pass, I don't care if you make it a 10% discount, but just give the people the discount for spending that much money and coming in there all the time. The first year I lived here, we had 154 days in theme parks. Like a discount makes a big difference. We don't stay there. We don't eat there all the time, but we almost always buy snacks, water, souvenir, something. We spend money while we're in the parks.
Yeah, and I think, again, this comes back to a phrase, and I've said it more times than I can count, not only on this podcast, but anywhere and everywhere, and that is perception is reality. And the danger that we have right now is there's a perception that is created, and Samantha just did a comment, and it's exactly where it was going. Give them something, they will appreciate it. It's the perception of value. And Matt, this is, I think, something that really is challenged, that Disney is very challenged by and struggles with, which is trying to create that perception of value, balanced to the fact of what we were just talking about, not 10 minutes ago. This is a revenue source, and if they try to create this added value, it comes at a cost.
Yeah, and I think what's kind of killing it too, I think we've talked about it a few times, is the impact of social media on a lot of this stuff. With people finding tricks and tips on how to get free stuff. So, all the free merchandise like Disney gives out, nobody really talks about that. That's coming out of their pocket. So, of course, at the end of the day, where's that extra cost coming from? Or where's that extra cost going to end up going? It might be $1 here, $1 there, but it's still going to increase on other things like, across the board. So
I think that's a great point, Matt. And I don't want to cut you off on it, but it's a great point, because here's where they're shooting themselves in the foot even more, because they used to have that aspect that made up for some of the higher tier items. There was magic that could happen there. Now, Disney, through social media, has had to become, we can't do that anymore. But now they look greedy. They used to look like an organization willing to give. Now they look like an organization just interested in taking.
Yeah, back to perception is reality. And so there's this perception that is being created now. To Disney's credit, this is not something I think that they tried to create. It was created for them. And, again, they were right, Matt. They were trying to do the nice thing. They were trying to be amenable and hospitable and, do all the right things. And folks have started to, frankly, the greedy.
Megan and I are on the same page. I can see it in your face right now.
Go ahead.
I see this as a chicken and egg problem, because when I was a cast member at Disney, even back in the early 2000s, it's been over 20 years since I was a cast member. It's so sad. It's certainly worse now, but the guests' level of expectation of, I expect the magic, I expect the free things, it's grown, but it was still there. It's always been there. But is it there because the guests are awful, or is it there because Disney built their reputation for all of this, and so they taught us to expect the magic, and then when it did, I just think there's a little bit of that, Disney built and taught us that we should expect magic, and that Disney, because one of the other issues that we've seen grow is that people complain the Disney magic is gone, and people are like, well, you have to create the magic. But that's not what Disney told us. Disney told us that Disney created the magic, and that you could always expect the magic if you came to visit them. And then stuff goes wrong and people are like, well, there's no magic at Disney. I very much feel like it's chicken and egg. It's Disney's fault. It's our fault. Which one happened first? I don't really know. People have always
I think the kids have an opinion on this. I think the kids have an opinion. Megan, you bring up a great point too. Go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
Yeah, go, Matt.
So I was thinking you mentioned did Disney kind of create this problem? I think it's more or less it goes back to social media. What level of magic do people expect? There's small things that can happen, and to somebody like us, hey, here's a free, free sandwich, free soda. Hey, great. To me, that's Disney magic. There's something I don't have to pay $12 for a single, whatever it is. That little thing is just, to me, is Disney magic. But other people look at it like, hey, I want, a free night in Cinderella's castle. I want this, they want like top shelf like stuff. It's just like, it's not obtainable. But then they sit there and go on social media and complain. It's just like, that just doesn't help. It takes away from what I feel like should be like the magic, like from back in the day.
Yeah, and it's this idea of it's rising expectations is what we're talking about. The challenge is that, and I think we're in a place where this really kind of got maybe where it started. And we've talked about this in a previous show. Was again, I go back to that Year of a Million Dreams. That's when they really started giving away some stuff. I mean, not just the you're having a bad day. I can tell the kid is crying. Here's an ice cream cone, kind of thing like that. This was widespread.
But I mean, that's a marketing campaign.
Yes, it is a marketing campaign.
But what it is, though.
Yes, it was a marketing campaign, but it set a level of expectation. Tom says, for $200 a day, you expect a little magic other than making your money disappear. Rising expectations come with rising costs. And Tom, that's exactly where I was going with this. The rising expectation is that from the guest perspective, is that I want to see more value for what I'm doing. And that's why I come back to the timing. I'm wondering if the timing of these levels of price increases maybe could have been thought out. That instead of doing the price increase before the construction, hit the mic, guys. Before the construction is complete, if you flipped that, get the product ready, get all the new things out. You've got Monstropolis out. You've got the new all the changes over to Animal Kingdom done. You've got all that done. Then you go and look and do the price increase. Does that change the percent?
But Chuck, you gotta hike prices. You gotta hike prices for holiday season 2026 because they open November, December bookings the same day they did all this.
That is true.
And you also have to realize, why would I wait to hike prices until after stuff comes out when it's the anticipation? Because if they think it sucks, if it flops, they're way out. This way, people are buying before with expectation. They may get let down, but that's revenue. And I'm going to bring up a point no one's brought up. Let's also consider something. People crap on our political system all over our country based on who's running the show and what's happening with our economy. Let's be totally honest. When you run past Walt, the CEO of that company, the decision maker, the guy, Bob Chapek, got run out of town because he started getting greedy. The same thing could happen with Iger. Like, people are getting frustrated already. So let's be totally honest.
And also keep in mind that successor search is very aggressively underway right now.
Yeah, but I mean, part of that problem starts at the very top because that's where the decisions are finalized. So, let's be totally honest. Never mind social media. Never mind what the guest expectation is. This is coming from the top, and it's well thought out and planned. If they're chasing money for stakeholders because the board's telling them we want profit margins, then that's what they're going to chase. They have to answer to the board first. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, the board and the consumer are two very different groups, and people need to remember that in a corporation.
Absolutely. And going back to a point that, Hawk, you talked about a while ago, I looked it up. Disney's theme park revenue currently makes up somewhere around 28%-ish. There's some varying on that. But that's 28% of total revenue of the company. Now, we do know, and we have heard, especially in more recent months, that streaming is struggling, that we're seeing subscribers falling off of Disney Plus and all that kind of stuff. So there also
they're being boycotted over politics too.
Well, that's why I said streaming services are struggling right now because you do have
prices are still going up too,
and those prices are still going up. So but they can hike a price, but they can't get a dime from somebody who says, "Peace out, I'm out. I'm gone." So is this also because the theme parks are kind of a cash cow? is this an effort to try to get a little bit more milk out of the cow, knowing that they're recognizing that the other divisions of the company also keep in mind that, we still are hearing talk of recession coming, whether that really happens or not. By the way, hey, Danny, welcome. Glad to have you with us. Talk of a recession, the theme parks can help be a way to maybe weather that some. You have Tron Ares that just opened up to some mixed results and not some great numbers and everything like that. So, we'll see. I mean, is this?
I know you're psyched about it.
I haven't seen it yet, but
No,
I'm rather nervous. I'll put it this way: I'm rather nervous on it.
Here's the thing: nobody goes to the movies anymore. Like, let's be totally honest. I saw the numbers. It was 33.5 million opening weekend. Not, they were very disappointed with the numbers, but the movie game's changed. People know it's going to be streaming in a month. Like, I'm not going to prioritize to go spend $100 for 3 people to go to the movies because it's $25 to get your ticket now and another $37.50 for a bucket of popcorn that, like, some 16-year-old that hasn't washed her hands in 7 days is grabbing for me. I'm not.
Hawk is all about that theatrical experience.
I am not doing it. So no, but it's realistically, people just don't go to the movies like they used to. Kids can't afford to do it the way they used to. I'll be honest, how these kids are at horror nights every week blows my mind, because it's like parents just drop them off and it's the universal babysitting service. There's got to be 15,000 kids under the age of 18 from like 14 to 18 going to horror nights by themselves at night. It's like, we leave on Fridays by 9 o'clock because I feel like I'm in a high school.
It's a little busy, and that gets to a whole different topic, and we've actually talked about that in some previous shows about some of the guests behaving badly. But yeah,
I want to ask Danny a question since he came on, and Epic has announced the changes to the rider policy with the handicap. Like, people have to walk onto rides now, and Danny, you have a special needs son. I'd love to hear your feedback. Maybe you can type a comment in the chat. But I'd still love to get you on the show coming up soon too, because I really want to talk about some of this stuff, because I think it's super important. And Universal made a decision over what had happened, and Danny's an incredibly responsible father. He's an incredibly responsible person. And there's question whether or not the gentleman that rode Stardust should have been riding it. And that is part of the tragic ending that happened. And it's been debated, and I'm not trying to get into that aspect. But as a result of a tragedy, Universal has made changes to their policy to try to make everyone safer. And much like, you were talking about earlier, Matt, people had an expectation, then somebody kind of ruins it for everybody else, or something happens. I'm curious, Danny, do you feel as though those safety changes that wouldn't have to happen if people made responsible decisions, do you feel they're necessary, or do you feel it's too bad that people now have to suffer that were making the right decisions for themselves that might have needed some assistance getting into those rides, and now they're not allowed to ride unless they can walk up and board themselves?
Well, and while we're waiting on Danny to comment on it, I think the other element of that we have to bear in mind, of course, is that, and guys, welcome to the lawyers, because this is where the lawyers all come in. These companies these guys are what are known as deep pockets, and so they have to protect themselves from people who put themselves into dangerous situations just to try to get the deep pocket lawsuit. And it's sad to see that, and it's sad that they have to do it in that way. So like I said, Dan, if you've got some comments, be sure to share that out. But continuing kind of the conversation on that, though, this is where, again, we're talking about, the magic going away. So Danny says, I know a little on the specific thing, but there's more than one side to this issue. So I'm not sure, Danny, if you can expand upon that or not.
Danny, what I want you to do, send me a private message with a couple of Tuesdays coming up on the calendar that you'd be available for, because I really do want to get you on the show, because I think you're amazing to talk to, and the story of your son is incredible. You've got an incredible family. I really just want to talk to someone that I can actually get some true feedback, because I know how much you love the theme parks, but I know how frustrated you get for the lack of accessibility that they have. And you have ideas on how that can change and how they can be better. And I think that's a super important voice to get out into the public and be able to have real conversations about.
Yeah. In fact, Danny posted a comment here, and he said, and this kind of gets back to what we talked about last week of, he says there's personal responsibility and park responsibility. And he also just added a new comment. He said, we know that in my son's case, Universal is out of the question.
He and I had a conversation about that. And he was saying that if he ever were to bring his son to Universal, which he'd love to do, to be able to see the park, but how is that fair to Hunter to not be able to experience anything in it due to his condition? And, we don't think about things like that where, I really saw a side of the theme parks that I had never seen or thought about when I really got into talking with Danny about his story and his family's situation. And you realize the amount of work and effort and hardship that these families go through to experience a vacation, and a member of the family can be excluded from that just because of the way the park is built or constructed. And you don't think about things like that. I never had in that realm. And it's fascinating to talk to Danny and realize how many things could be done differently if someone on Imagineering, if someone on Imagineering had a disabled son that was confined to something, I think you'd see changes made.
I think it goes back to Walt saying the park was never finished. If Walt was still around today, what would he have done years ago? Like, he would have saw this, and what kind of solutions would he have figured out? Is kind of just like what just kind of came to mind. Sorry to cut you off, but just like,
no, you're 100%.
If it was, Walt wanted this from more of a family oriented, like family being together, and to see, like, to hear about this stuff is just like, Walt would have figured out, okay, what can we do to make things possible? Yeah, there's limitations with certain things, but to me, I don't, it's something I've never experienced, but I feel like there's still ways, like with the growth of technology and everything like that, there's got to be some way Disney can incorporate something with a lot of these rides to make them more accessible for, all kind of certain situations.
In Danny's case, he brought it up too, that his son is now older. So, there was a time where, Danny can hold his son or have him in his arms. He can't cradle his son in that way now. And, these parks, having at least some attractions that are able to go, it is super important that they remember to take care of the disabled community and have options for them. And I think that is a huge thing. So, Danny, definitely reach out to me and let me know when you could get on the show, because we want to get you on soon, because I do think this is a super important topic to address.
It absolutely is. And there's, to Matt's point, that there's ways to do it. There have to be ways to do it. Danny says transferring from Hunter's wheelchair is virtually impossible. And and we're going to talk a lot about this when Danny gets on. Again, it's coming up on a future episode, but I think maybe there was a really important word there in that last comment that he said, which again, transferring from Hunter's wheelchair is virtually impossible. So maybe you take those last two words and we'll flip them and make it possible virtually, and find a way to have him ride a roller coaster, but it's in a simulator of some sort. Now, it won't be as jarring and flipping and all the other things, but you can get the sensation of motion. And again, we're going to talk about that when Danny comes on. We talk about, and again, we hope you guys have enjoyed open mic night here on Mousecast. We do this every second Tuesday of the month, and we're live every Tuesday night at 8:30 p.m. right here on our Facebook channel, right here on our YouTube channel. Coming up next week, we're going to have another great show. Who knows? Maybe by then Danny will be able to join us. We'll see. And then we also have game night again coming up, fourth Tuesday of the month. That'll be coming up in 2 weeks. I want to say a huge thank you to Hawk, Megan, and Matt for joining us as always. Thank you, huge thank you to Tom, to Danny, to Samantha also for joining us. This is Mousecast. This is the podcast where the mind meets the magic. If you've been listening, share out that you enjoyed open mic night here on Mousecast, and share out the fact that you're listening and encouraging others to join us on Mousecast live every Tuesday night at 8:30. So until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you for listening to Mousecast. We appreciate the time you share with us. And tonight was a very fun show, and joining us is a must. This is where the mind meets the magic. We dive a little deeper every time. Theme parks, cruise ships, and travel. If you don't listen, maybe now it's time.